Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shall I share your presentation for you?
Yes, you could. You could.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Today we are going to look at how archivists describe collection using a CDM model. And to my introduction, I'll give you that archiving plays a vital role in enhancing research opportunities. And this goes for scholars around the world. It could include historians. Actually, it covers a very wide range, but to be minimal, it could include scholars, anthropologists. This is also philosopher, and also it could include even experts in the natural and physical science. Now, the CDM model, as the data stewards would call it, they would call it common data model, but archivists would call it collection description model. So we are going to look at the objectives. The first objective is to evaluate the data reception and metadata assignment. This basically assesses how submission information packages are structured and how they adhere to standardized metadata schemas for archival records. Now, we also have storage and strategies for long-term access. This is now where we call preservation planning. And this investigates how archival information and data packages are maintained in ensuring that they are authentic, they meet integrity, and ensures longevity of academic and administration records. We also have verification mechanism. This is where it assesses the fair mechanism in dissemination. And this analyzes how dissemination information packages are used to facilitate information retrieval. Next, please. Now, this is how archiving or records management works one-on-one. So from the beginning, you can see donors, Vodafone Africa, and emails. So the donors, this could be individual donors, this could be individual donations, and then Vodafone Africa or humanitarian, this could be organizations. These are the kind of people that where we get data from. We also have systems like WhatsApp and social media. So most of the information that we collect come from various spaces, but now we decided to focus on this small. Now, once the information is acquired, we will have to assign metadata, but don't forget that there is that data that came with the records. So we'll also have to validate the information, the data that we have received, and also see their relevance to our collection. In this process, this is also where you can decide whether the information is going straight to the archives or the information is going to the public so that it can be easily accessed. Now, when you see this diagram, it shows two arrows that comes from the assigning metadata, and one goes to cataloging and the other one goes to storage. So the first box up that shows data management space, or we could call it library, because most of the cataloging takes place in the library, or indexing, for example. So this is where also the subject headings are kept. But the other box adjacent to it, that is what we call the archives and storage. And this is where the digital records are, and data redundancy is also, and integrity is also observed in this area. Now, at the end of that, where those two arrows also merge, we have find, access, reuse, and operate. And from that space, that is where now what I call consumers or feedback, they obtain data from. So these are the historians or scholars, or even students who come accessing for data. For me, I call them feedback. Why? Because when we are doing maintenance, when we are changing things in the archives, they are the people who tell us where are we failing, what should we improve, should we add this, or should we remove this? Now, at the bottom At the bottom, we have policies, security controls, and proper system updates. Those are the administration level. That is the administrator, and his function is to ensure that policies are in place, security controls are working, and proper system updates are in place. Now, at the bottom of it, you'll see the management. I put the management at the bottom because it is the one that carries it all. It is the one that is responsible for everything that works on top. So the management are the ones that make sure that everybody is in his place. The librarian is in the library, the archivist is in the archives, the ICT is in the ICT. There is no such thing as rotation when it comes to archiving, because one person might touch one document and tomorrow you don't know who touched the document. So everybody's role must be clear. Next slide, please. Now, we have types of information packages. Now, these are the kind of submission information packages that are used in that model. Now, we have submission information data package. These are raw data and metadata from donors, emails, and social media. These are the packages that come with the records. Then we have archival information data packages. These are fully preserved catalog records. These are the now where the archivist comes in. The archivist now is the one who brings data to the archival part. And then we have the dissemination information data packages. Now, most of the time, the dissemination information packages are always derived from archival information data packages. And these are customized data packages that are used for access. They make access efficient and easy. Next slide, please. Now, we have FAIR principles. Now, this is the part now where it's going to get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. When we talk about findable, these are metadata. These are, sorry, the goal here is to make metadata and data easy to locate, both for users and automated systems. The action here, most of the time, is to assign persistent identifiers. And most of us are familiar with the DOIs, digital objective identifiers, and that goes for the documents. And then we have ARKs. This is archival resource keys. These are for long-term archival items. And then we have OCID, or OCID as you would call it, but this is an open researcher and contributor ID, and it is for researcher identification. Now, a good example will be, like, you tag each interview in a digital archive with keywords like human trafficking, for example, or Eritrea, for example, or refugees. Okay. Now, when we go to access, these are open protocol and clear access rights. Now, and they include, they always include clear access condition, like, is it open? Is it restricted? Is it embargoed? And the metadata should always remain accessible, even if the data is not is restricted. Remember, the metadata is what makes researcher know that you have that document. Now, let's take a look at the there's something I've not told you about the accessible. In the accessible, we should also ensure that the data that we have, they integrate with the federated repositories. And this is the Open Archival Initiative Protocol for the metadata harvesting. They have to be supported. And then also here in the accessible, we also must ensure that registering with platforms like Open Airbase or Europeana, these are the databases that allows other systems to harvest metadata and enables your collection to be searchable across global platforms. A good example would be a student record. It may be restricted, yes, but metadata like date, department, and retention period should remain accessible only by authorized staff. Let's take a look at interoperable. These are standard schemas, okay. We need to use standardized formats and vocabularies that only allow systems to integrate and understand the metadata. Most of the standardized is, some of us are familiar with these ones. I cannot elaborate more. But also, we need to apply controlled vocabularies and ontologies. And these are like the ISO codes. We know how the ISO code dates works. And then we have Library of Congress subject headings. Those are kind of the vocabularies that we need to apply in the interoperable. Now, I will offer an example. This is where you describe a video file, and it includes standardized language, like mostly we use EN for English. And then the date format is ISO 8601. This is where the year starts, then the month, then the date. And all the documents that you are working on, if you choose that you are working with the ISO, all the documents should follow that format. And then we also have the MIME types, that when it is image, we use the JPEG, and if it is the video, we use MP4. Now, let's go to reusable. This is where the licensing and provenance of consistency also applies. Now, this one, in this place, the goal is to ensure that metadata is rich and clear enough to be reused, and in different contexts by different users, okay? And it also provides detailed provenance information, like who created it, when, under what conditions are these files or data created. And then a good example in this area also is a researcher, a research data package that includes clear documentation of methodology. Now, the usage of license that we most often come across, even in the system, in the Google, is the CC-BY. Those are the kind of licenses that we are commonly used to getting, and data steward contract of questions. The next slide, please. Okay. I'll just pass through this one because this is just the key elements. Take a look at them, because now I have put them in the table and I want you to understand how they work. I want you to understand the format. Kyle, you'll move to the second. Now, this is the table. This is how a digital archiving metadata table should look like. The title in the field name, the title should be clear. The name of the item should be clear. The creator, the person or group of people that created. Now, remember, there's a format. There's also format. In what format are you holding this? In this case, it is text. Is it required? Yes. Is it repeatable in the creator? Yes. But in the title, no, it's not necessary. Now, when we go to the date created, we have original date of creation. Now, there's something here I want you guys to understand. There is a difference between the date of creation and the date of the provenance. Sometimes you pick a collection that has a date, and this could be a date parameter. Let's say there maybe the document has a date. The collection is between 1975 to 2025. That is also a date that should be included. And you should also state clear what that date is for. Now, when we go to format, we also already talked about the format type. That is the PDF or JPEG. And then the text format could be MIME. And then, is it required? Yes. Is it repeatable? No. And then we have usage right, licenses. I will bring you back to these licenses in another diagram. And it will be very clear for you. And then you have the subject. You have to give a brief something about what you are collecting. Now, let's go to the next stage.
Philip, since we have another presentation and we only have around 20 more minutes, would you
let me summarize then. Let me summarize.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, I have already talked about this in that diagram, but what I needed to show you is this is an example of digital archiving. Go to the second slide. This is records management. Now, there's a difference between records management and archiving, and all are differentiated by just one thing, the purpose. You realize that in record management, there is a retention period, but in archiving, we do not have that. I will explain that, but not in this platform. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now, these are functional roles. Of course, we already talked about the recipient. This is the where we receive data and validates in the diagram that we started. The storage, which ensures redundancy, and data manager. And also we checked fair agents, which enhances usability. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, now, this might be my last explanation. This explains step by step from when you are receiving a fund, a box with no class, with no anything. This explains how from the box to the shelves or to the archives, where fonts, you come up with series. And from series, you also make sub-series. And believe me, in this area, it might look simple, but this is where all your creativity needs to come in. You need to be very creative in this sector, because how you define or classify or index those files, people that are coming behind you are going to continue with that procedure. Nobody's going to change it. It's going to be there. So you really need to be creative. The next slide, please. Okay, we ended up with ontology mapping in the Dublin Core, where I just used what we already have. The next slide. Yes, and also we have vocabularies, where FOF means friends of a friend. And this is for identifying people and their roles, like contributors, for example. And then we have simple knowledge organization system. This is for structured vocabularies, like team, subject headings. And then we have premise, which most of us are familiar with. It is for preservation metadata and long-term in digital archiving. Alafu, we have the Getty thesaurus of geographic names. This is for consistent place of names. Of course, we have the Library of Congress subject headings for thematic consistency, and we have OC ontology for researcher identification. The next slide, please. Okay, those are benefits of CDM model. That is global discoverability, data enrichment, and system compatibility, and for future proofing. The next slide. Okay, these are the recommendations that we are supposed to come up with to develop digital archiving framework, invest in technology and infrastructure, and also build staff capacity through training, like what we are doing right now. Next slide. Yes, I believe to God be the glory. I bless you all. Thank you.